While everyone around the world is focusing in on bird flu, friends, there is something happening over in Africa that is extremely serious. There is another pandemic forming in Democratic People's Republic of Congo, and this is going to probably hit the West in the next number of months. Bird flu has not really crossed over into the human population. There's that concern that sooner or later it may, and when it does, then how serious will it be? We don't know. And so they're out there distributing pokes to all sorts of different people to prepare them for that. There are millions and millions of vaccines being purchased in order to be distributed across Europe and the United States. We are already seeing those being distributed over in some of the countries in Europe. However, we're not going to be talking about bird flu. We're going to be talking about MPOX. Now, you may remember the outbreak in 2022 among those particularly of the Happy July party. Those folks waving their flags were contracting MPOX at a much higher rate than the general population, and pretty much almost exclusively in their population due to the intimate contact required to pass MPOX on to another. However, what is now happening in Africa is very serious because there is a new strain out there that doesn't pass from intimate contact. Rather, it is passing from touch. And this is serious. We're now seeing healthcare workers being affected. We're seeing the families of the healthcare workers now being affected. And this is spreading very rapidly. It will soon start hitting population centers that actually do travel internationally. And this is something we need to talk about, friends. This is going to be big news in the coming months. But we're going to get you the exclusive on it right now. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and we're keeping an eye on what's going on out there and what will be happening next week, next month. And I'm telling you, from all indications out there, that this MPOX outbreak in the DR Congo is a big, big deal. We're seeing rapid spread. We're starting to see cases going from the hundreds to the thousands, and very soon looks like it's going to start becoming tens of thousands of cases. And not only that, but the ease of spread of MPOX is going to make this very, very serious. Now, what is MPOX, and how serious of a thing is it? Mortality rate in MPOX right now is about 4% for adults, which is orders of magnitude greater than the cough, okay? Cough that we're still not allowed to talk about. That had a mortality rate of well under 1%. Now we're talking about MPOX with a mortality rate of 4% for adults and 10% for kids. Remember, the cough had a much lower mortality rate for kids than it did for adults. This is inverted, where kids are much more susceptible to this. MPOX is in the smallpox family. Now, if you know your history, you know smallpox was a very, very deadly disease and a very serious condition that spread like wildfire all over the place. Now, we're seeing MPOX in that same family is going to be a serious problem there too. Now, with this, there is a vaccine out there that has been used amongst what are they calling it exactly? They're calling it communities at risk. And why they were saying that was because MPOX was spreading through intimate contact. So basically, people who were sleeping around with a whole bunch of people, we need to vaccinate them. And so that's what they did, and they were able to halt the 2022 outbreak of MPOX in the United States, Western countries, and for the most part over in Africa too. However, now that this has gone from communities that are impacted by this to everybody, anybody who comes in close proximity to touch, due to the fact that this covers people with sores like smallpox, like chickenpox, but much bigger lesions. Because it covers them with lesions, there's a lot of pus, there's a lot of stuff that can be spread, right? And anyone who's caring for them, can become infected by that. Also, it is unclear what other bodily fluids may also carry this, whether saliva, whether blood, but we are seeing clearly that it is not being spread now through intimate contact, but rather through touch. And that causes this thing to be a much more serious. Now, no indications yet that it is airborne, but these are major mutations that are going to affect a lot of us. Okay, so far this year there have been 8,000 cases, with almost 400 not surviving. And this is mostly confined still to the DR Congo, which, if you're familiar with that at all, it's in the center of Africa, but it's kind of a no-go zone for most Westerners. It is extremely conflict infested. It's very unsecure. And so basically, Western companies, by and large, cannot operate in DR Congo. There are not a lot of people flying in and out of DR Congo. And particularly in the eastern sections, basically, it doesn't really have a lot of cross-pollination with Western countries. However, the border with Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi is relatively porous. People move back and forth between the countries, and they can do so. And so when we see that the DR Congo is having these infections up in the province that borders Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda, in the province of southern Kivu, this is a serious problem. Because if it spreads to Rwanda, Burundi, or Uganda, we're going to start seeing that spreading much, much faster to other countries, including Kenya or down south, all the way down to South Africa potentially. We may see it moving up north into areas of Sudan. This is a big deal. This could not only spread like wildfire through Africa, but it could then spread rapidly to Western countries as well. Will we move fast enough in time to shut off people coming from those countries? Will we quarantine those countries? That doesn't seem like there is the will to do so at this point. Right now, we can't even secure our southern border from just people that we don't even know who they are. And so how can we close down our borders from flights from these countries when they can just fly to other countries and then walk across our southern border? So this has become, due to the mutations, has become much more contagious to humans. We're seeing not only the prostitutes and such getting it over in Congo, which is what we've been seeing recently. Now we're seeing healthcare workers, we're seeing teachers, we're seeing schools and family members getting this now. And this is really showing us how rapidly this is starting to spread. Now this is mostly focused still in Kamituga, which is where has been kind of ground zero for MPOX in the past. But we're now seeing the cases rising rapidly there as well as several cities along the border with Rwanda. Again, Rwanda is a little bit more of a country that people interact with internationally. And so there are more tourists that go to Rwanda and also more businesses that operate in Rwanda. So that will move from Rwanda very quickly to other African states and start seeing some international non-Africa cases. That's what we're probably going to be seeing in the near term. So, like I said, 4% mortality rate among adults. Now that is in third world conditions where there is not good medical access. There isn't real access to the effective vaccine that seems to be working. And then there's that whole question of, will this current vaccine actually work against MPOX, the mutated version of MPOX? We haven't yet seen evidence whether it is effective or not. They haven't been able to do any studies on that just yet to see if it will block the new version of MPOX. And if it doesn't, then we're back to the drawing table. Now, the MPOX vaccine is like an old school vaccine, right? It's not like the new fangled mRNA where they're reprogramming you, but rather the MPOX vaccine is more along the lines of what we've seen like smallpox vaccines and mumps and measles and all that kind of stuff like that we've used in the past. So we are encouraged that that there does seem to be a vaccine right now, but when we start talking about treatments, it's unclear whether the West will have good treatments, better treatments for people who get MPOX. However, with the medical systems in the West, we expect that the mortality rate will probably drop, dramatically once they get access to better medical care. But still, what percentage of mortality when it hits the West, we don't know. But the fact that it is elevated amongst kids is very serious. And even if that comes down significantly, we're still seeing orders of magnitude more deadly than the cough. And so this could start sending people into fear mode. And we may hear a lot of countries shutting down their borders. We may hear of trade stopping between countries because of this. And so there's a lot of serious implications that this could come. So we're looking over the horizon just a little bit, but I'm telling you that in the coming weeks, if things keep moving the way they are, once we start seeing a bunch of cases in Rwanda, once we start seeing cases in Burundi and Uganda, we're going to start hearing about this much more because this is just some people on the wall, watchmen on the wall, starting to scream, hey, there's something out there. And given what's happening, it doesn't look good. It looks like it's going to be a bigger, more serious problem than what people realize. And so we're not talking about, oh, this may hop from animals to humans. This may do this in the future. It is doing this. And if it keeps doing what it's doing, we're going to have a major problem. We're going to have a major international problem. If 4% of the population of the world dies, that's a big problem, right? If 4% of the population of even some of these developing countries die, that's a big problem. And if 10% of kids die, that's a serious, serious problem. How fast will hospitals in the third world get overwhelmed? How fast will hospitals in the West get overwhelmed when we start talking about major, major percentages of the population getting very direly sick, which require a lot of care? So, I'm giving you a warning on this, so be aware of what's going on. And as I bring you updates about this as things move forward, you'll probably start hearing more and more about these in the West, in the Western media. But once you do, don't be surprised when you start hearing a level of panic once they start looking at the numbers, once they start looking at what's actually happening. They may start saying that all sorts of crazy things need to happen and need to be required. And everybody getting the poke is probably going to be on the table because they've done that before, right? They're telling us that they didn't do it before, but they kind of did do it before, and they probably will go along that lines, whether they require everyone to stay home for weeks on end again, whether they close international borders, close international trade, possibilities. All right, friends, let me know what you guys think. If you've looked into the MPOX virus, that is a nasty one. And we're not calling it monkeypox because leftists, when they hear monkeypox, they immediately start thinking racist thoughts because they're the most racist people we really have around. So they're calling it MPOX now because some people couldn't keep their minds out of the gutter, apparently. Anyway, that's what's going on out there, and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.